You'll love that.
Download our app today and enjoy tackle-busting benefits with great odds, more markets and same-game multi every NRL match at Palmerbet. Gamble responsibly. For Gamblers' Help, call 1-800-858-858.
Hello and welcome to episode 428 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And join me as always is the glorious League Freak. You can also find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going pretty well. I've got a dog here that's chewing on my hoodie jacket. Well, not hoodie jacket, my hoodie zipper. Mm-hmm. So it's probably going to be some weird noises in this episode.
Right, we'll bear that in mind.
Yeah.
This will be our round 21 preview brought to you by Palmerbet.
Well, it's actually round 22, I believe.
Is it round 22? Oh, for fuck's sake.
It's round 22 already. Can you believe that?
We're not even going to edit that. Fuck that. That's just, it's round 21 for me because I didn't get to see anything last week. So that can just be deleted and we'll start again this week. If your team won last week, stiff shit. If your team lost like mine did, you get a do-over.
We love having Palmerbet on board. They've been a fantastic sponsor. We love working with them. And all of our odds that we give in this episode are from palmerbet.com. So go there, sign up. It's a really great service. They give really good betting odds too. So let's try and make our listeners win some money.
Get some coin in the pocket.
Yeah.
There's an idea. All right, so we have... there's a Panthers versus Storm on Thursday?
Yep. Tomorrow, Penrith Panthers versus the Melbourne Storm. The Melbourne Storm have had they had a big injury out. Who was the big injury out? I think it was Kafusi won't be in, and it's not because of injury. I believe he had a family member pass away, sadly. So he won't be playing for the Storm. But Palmerbet.com has the Penrith Panthers in the head-to-head as favourites. They're at $1.56. The Melbourne Storm are at $2.45. The Melbourne Storm have a 4.5-point handicap at $1.90, where the Melbourne Storm have a 4.5-point head start at $1.90, whereas the Panthers with 4.5-point handicap are also at $1.90.
Yes, this is going to be an interesting one. You're basically looking at two very understrength sides going head to head here against one another.
Mm-hmm. It would have been a gigantic matchup at most times of the year, but with how many players the Storm are missing and their form as well hasn't been great, and the Panthers are obviously missing their starting halves, it's weird how it doesn't take too much of a change to these two teams, and it stops it being the marquee matchup. It would have been like normally this would have been like everyone shut up. This is the only game that matters, and it's not that game at the moment, unfortunately.
No, at this stage, I think I'd be giving this one to Penrith. There's basically two things that have got to happen here, and that is get Smith, Martin, or Yo, or all of them, to just lock down Munster, because his halves partner is Cooper Johns, who hasn't played a great deal of first grade, and when he has, it's just been one game here and there. And the other job would be to make sure Brian To'o gets the ball a lot because he's running at Nofaluma.
Yeah, and look, you would think that if they can do those two things, and their defence should carry them home.
Yep.
And because of that, I mean, I think that you could probably take the 4.5-point handicap on the Panthers and still get your money in this game. The Storm just look like they're just struggling against so many injuries at the moment, and they're doing their best, unfortunately. I think that if they can get some players back for the finals, they'll still be really hard to beat. But even at their best this year, they haven't looked as ominous as they have in the past.
Yeah, no, I think they'll be a much stronger outfit when finals comes around. I think at the moment they've just decided, you know what, we're just going to try and coast as much as we can, soften the blow of injuries and stuff as much as possible, and then hopefully we can pick up a little bit of form in the last two games to carry into the finals.
Yeah, and look, the Panthers, I don't know if they'd win the minor premiership if they win this game. They might do, I'm not sure. But they're so close to that. We'll see what happens. But it's going to be interesting to see what type of crowd they get on Friday night, whether they pack it out like they would have against the Storm normally, or if it's just a little bit under capacity instead. But we'll see. It'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting game, that's for sure.
Well, now look, I've got some random stats for all these games today. So you ready for this one?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Penrith have won their last 2 games against the Storm, but they've never ever won 3 straight games against them.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
The last time Penrith scored more than 12 points against the Storm at Penrith was in round 5, 2005.
Wow.
In all the games since then at Penrith, the Panthers have scored 6, 10, 10, 10, 12, 10, 0, and 12.
That's outrageous. Holy crap.
So
maybe taking them with the handicap isn't a good idea.
There's a hoodoo that they need to snap in half.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. I remember there was a long time where we just did not beat the Storm. It was under Matthew Elliott, where I think he never won a game against Craig Bellamy, and he was at the Panthers for a long time, so you can imagine.
Indeed, he was. This is going to be. I think the biggest problem here for this game, given that the Panthers have, they've already got that extra game in the bag without Cleary there, and they got to win, so they know they can do it. They've got a bit of belief there.
Mm-hmm.
The Storm will be without Jerome Hughes, and that's a massive loss for them.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they cope with that. But yeah, they are really decimated with injuries.
That's true. My dog just broke my hoodie zipper. Completely broke it. I can't zip it down all the way and zip it back up. She just ruined my hoodie.
Now you just look like everybody else in Penrith.
How dare you? This was my dress hoodie.
The one you wore to you wear to all the weddings and funerals that you go to.
Exactly. This is why it's a good hoodie. Terrible.
Your formal suit.
It went with my formal thongs and everything.
Devastating. See, people will now need to donate more money to your Patreon in order to help you out with this.
Very true. She's actually chewing on the plastic bit that's at the end of the zipper, and she's looking up at me, walking away, looking at me as if, say, you're going to chase me for this, and I'm not.
Not letting have it. All right, the next game is the Warriors versus the Bulldogs. And a few months ago, this was looking like the worst game you would ever come across. But this could be a completely different beast now because of the Bulldogs.
Yeah, so at palmerbet.com, the New Zealand Warriors are outsiders in the head-to-head betting. They're at $2.42, whereas the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs are at $1.57. The Warriors have a 4.5 point head start at $1.90, whereas the Bulldogs have a 4.5 point handicap also at $1.90.
That's slim.
Yeah, I think the Bulldogs could really whip the Warriors.
Oh yeah, that's largely what I'm expecting here too. The Dogs are looking solid. They've not had a great deal of changes to the lineup as well. I think Pangai Jr.'s out for this game.
Mm-hmm.
That's been their only big loss. The Warriors team, I mean, it changes every week.
Yeah, look, I was thinking
Sean Johnson, he's a lock at 7 every week.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why they're still selecting him in first grade just on form. And on top of that, you would think to yourself, like, why don't you see what else you've got? Like, you're not doing anything this year. Why don't you try some other players at halfback? I don't get it. Look, if I was Stacey Jones, because I was thinking about this, and I've been really harsh about Stacey Jones, and it's mainly been because of Johnson. What does he do? Like, what is he supposed to do? He's not going to be the coach there next year.
Yeah, and look, this is the problem too. I mean, they let Harris Tavita go.
Mm-hmm.
Nicarima's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've just let go of, was there another one they let go of as well?
Well, there also, you've got to remember that
Reece Walsh.
they brought in a young kid. I think his name was Volkman from the
Yep.
Roosters, and he is out for the rest of the season through injury.
Yep.
So I think he's getting surgery or something. So it looks like it's shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic, because for the most part that's what it is. It's not much more than that. And
well, I dare say too, he's trying to keep players in this squad who are most likely going to be at the club next year, and try and keep giving them some game time and help with their development. I guess that's all he can do.
Yeah, at best, and
it's a mess.
The thing that worries me about somebody when they come in mid-season as a coach is you want to see something change, and you want to see this person's imprint on even just the way that the team approaches games and stuff like that. Now, they're not getting annihilated like Nathan Brown teams do, where you can turn on the game after 20 minutes and be like, you start doing the math and you're like, is the greatest scorer of all time under threat here? Which is what happens when Nathan Brown coaches your team. So they're not doing that, which is a credit to him, but it's not much better than that.
No, that's right. This is the thing. If you take Johnson out of the side, though, I mean, who do you replace him with? It's not like they've got anyone they can fall back on now. So they are kind of just lumped with him.
Yeah.
This is a pretty average-looking side. Dogs are full of confidence, and I wouldn't be surprised if they rack up a huge, huge win here.
Yeah, I would be disappointed if they didn't score 40.
Now, I've got two stats for this one.
Okay.
The Bulldogs' last win at Mount Smart was in round 3, 2012.
Wow.
And this will be the 300th NRL game played in Auckland.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
I would have thought someone would have picked up at that in the NRL, but no. There's been 290 games at Mount Smart, NRL games this is. 3 games at Carlaw Park and 6 games at Eden Park.
I think it's pretty clear that the National Rugby League needs to employ a full-time statistician and historian. It'd be cool if they could get both of those things in one person, because then, they'd be saving money. I wonder where
two birds with one stone. Look, I'll take 60 grand to do each job.
Yeah.
60 grand each year to do each job. I'm not a greedy man.
Yeah. That's not bad. That's pretty good. Yeah. Canterbury. Easy.
Comfortably. So the next game, and this will be an absolute cracker, this one, Parramatta versus South. Both teams need this to try and shore up a bit of security in the top 8, because both need to win at least half of their remaining games, and Parramatta have a hell of a run home.
Mm-hmm.
Their defence it's turned to dog shit in the last month and a half. South attack looks like it's starting to crank up a gear. So this is going to be the biggest test Parramatta's going to get. They need to treat this like a finals game, because nearly every game from here on in is going to be for them.
It's going to be, yeah. So on Palmerbet.com, the Parramatta Eels are outsiders at $2.37, where the South Sydney Rabbitohs are at $1.59. The Parramatta Eels have a 3.5-point head start at $1.90, where with the 3.5-point handicap, South are also at $1.90. I think that South will cover that handicap pretty comfortably, so I would take that. This is a game where if you lose this one, and one of these teams will lose this game, and then you lose another game, all of a sudden things start getting worrying, and so that's why this game is so important. You win this game, you can worry far less for the rest of the season. But I'm like you. I look at the South's attack right now and Parramatta's defence, and I can only see this going South's way.
Yeah, I think there's more upside in the South's attack than there is in Parramatta's attack.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as South's defence comes and goes in and out of games, it's going to hang around a lot longer and be a lot more reliable than what Parramatta's is, which is just sort of comes then goes. It doesn't come back again. It just sort of slowly drifts away. They need to fix their defence horribly fast, the Eels, because it's messy. I know last week we talked about how they'd only conceded like 60 or 70 points more than the West Tigers.
Mm-hmm. Which shocked me when you told me that. I couldn't believe that.
Well, given that they conceded, 30-odd points last week or something like that, and the Tigers only conceded 14, that gap's got smaller. That's bad. You don't want to have your defensive record being compared with the West Tigers and almost being the same when you're a top 8 team. And the Tigers are battling to avoid the wooden spoon. That shit is fucked.
Yeah,
they need to fix that fast. You're not going to win a single fucking game of any relevance when it comes to finals footy if you get there, if your defence is being that atrocious.
And the thing is, too, like they're coming up against a team that is not only attacking well as a team at the moment, but Latrell Mitchell is maybe the form player in the competition who is playing like a destroyer of worlds at the moment. Like if he had been playing like this all season, you don't even worry about Dally M Player of the Year. He would have won it a few weeks ago. He's absolutely destroying teams, and Parramatta doesn't really have anyone like that. So I can't see. If Souths lost this game, I would be extremely disappointed in them.
Yeah.
I just can't see them losing, and I wouldn't be shocked if, it's the first half, 30 minutes into it, and you're kind of looking at Parramatta and you're like, wow, what's going on here? Because this game's over.
Well, in the last 5 games between these sides, Souths have won every single one. They've reached at least 30 points every time. And the average score in those last 5 games has been to a 36-13 victory for South.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Parramatta are, it's funny, Parramatta are South bunnies.
Well, going by all of that, you take the South Sydney Rabbitohs with the 3.5 point handicap at $1.90.
Yep.
And then just gamble responsibly, but put all of your money into that.
Yeah, actually take your neighbour's money just to be sure too. You don't want to miss out on any cents there, but gamble responsibly.
Exactly.
Next up, we have the Roosters versus the Cowboys in a must-win game for the Roosters.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cowboys are one of 3 teams, I believe, who are locked into the finals no matter what happens now. The others being Penrith and the Sharks. Okay,
here's an interesting one on Palmerbet.com. The Sydney Roosters are overwhelming favourites at $1.65 to the North Queensland Cowboys $2.25. The North Queensland Cowboys have a 3.5 point head start at $1.90, and with the 3.5 point handicap, the Sydney Roosters are also at $1.90. I've got no idea. It's got to be just this overwhelming record for the Roosters over the North Queensland Cowboys, because on form, if you look at injuries, if you look at every sort of stat for this season, there is zero reason why you would have the North Queensland Cowboys as anything but overwhelming favourites.
In the 27-year existence of the Cowboys, 28 years existence, they've beaten the Roosters just 4 times in Sydney.
Okay, so there it is. That's what it is then.
Yep.
I'd be shocked if they lost this game, though.
Yeah, I think too. There's that weight of a losses around the corner to a top 8 side.
Yep.
I think that's what. Not so much the bookies, but I think there's that sort of weight that comes on a team. Is there's got to be a loss coming soon, and sometimes a team at this stage of the year who are going as well as the Cowboys are won't mind having a loss right now and then going back onto winning games, because that whole burden of a losses around the corner is completely off their back. They just go in full of confidence, not worrying about a loss as much as they are now. Because remember when, what was a good example? I think Cronulla 2016, they won something like 14 straight games or something.
Mm.
Then they had a draw against the Titans. And then all of a sudden they went loss. I think 1 win, then a loss and a loss. They went to the finals. I mean, they were sitting second on the third or something like that on the ladder.
Yeah.
But they went into the finals. Instead of going in and thinking, we've been in great form, they've gone in there going, we've been dog shit the last month.
Mm.
And they ambled through the first half of their first finals game and then finally played themselves into a bit of form. And I think the Tigers in 05 was another similar one.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that they went on a bit of a winning streak, and then they lost a bunch of games. The difference was their loss run started a bit earlier than the Sharks one. They were able to win, I think, 1 or 2 games before the final started, and just run into the finals with a bit of form behind them. I think a lot of teams prefer to do that. Just have 1 or 2 wins under the belt, maybe 3, and no one's sitting there going, "Oh, losses around the corner, losses around the corner."
Yeah.
I know Penrith had it too the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, and especially more so in 2020, I think.
Yeah, it weighed heavy on them in 2020.
Yeah, and it is. It's just statistics. You're close to your next loss, and it's. I'm still taking the Cowboys pretty easily in this game, just because the Roosters they look really poor. They look really, really poor at the moment. And this would be the last opponent they would want to face in this situation where, like, they lose this game, then they're in a flat-out race to the end of the season with a few teams for that last spot in the finals. So it's going to be an interesting one once again. Like, these games it's a pretty good weekend of footy.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a really good game because these sides are they do have very good defense systems.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got a lot of different strike weapons all over the field in different sort of areas. So you're not really looking so much at head-to-head matchups because it doesn't work that way. You're not going to go, wow, this fullback battle between Tedesco and Drinkwater. Hang on, this is where else you look. It's all over the spot. You got 2 completely different but very talented locks in Radley and Tormalolo going head-to-head.
Yeah, an Englishman and a Tongan. That's an interesting one.
Cohen Hess up against Matt Lodge. Ruben Cotter versus Maria Hargraves. Very different. All 4 of those guys and the way they go about things. So it's the complete contrast in performances and player styles and all that sort of thing that goes on all over the place. It's going to make it very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Roosters are employing a lot of kicks to the corners here. Try and get the most out of Suwali and Tupou's height. They do that a lot anyway, but there's not massive leapers in that Cowboys back line that might be able to challenge consistently with them. They'll do okay if they get a bit of a head start when they're going for the leap for the ball, but if they both go at the same time, I don't think the Cowboys wingers, who are Tuolangi and Tabuai Fidel, I don't think they're going to out-leap Tupou and Suwali.
And the thing is that, like, when you play the Cowboys, your kicking game's got to be spot on because if you can keep them in their own end and get their big forward pack having to turn around all the time and ruck it out from their own line, basically, you're just wearing them down. And that's why the Panthers look pretty good against them this year because that's their game plan against everyone.
Yeah.
But I can't go past the Cowboys in this one. I'd take them in the head-to-head, $2.25.
I'll go the Roosters just for the hell of it. This game's going to go either way. I don't think it's going to be a hiding 21, but I'll go the Roosters by about 4 points. Just why not?
Speaking of hiding 21,
Tamworth.
It's a Tamworth.
Tamworth's got an NRL game.
You know what? Tamworth is a very special place in the world, but I don't know that it deserves this sort of game.
They deserve the West Tigers in this form.
Yeah, you're right.
West Tigers are taking on the Sharks at Tamworth on Saturday.
Well, it'll be interesting for these 2 teams to go and see all of the sights and sounds of Tamworth. That's it.
You got that out of your system?
Yeah. So
go to the Packers on the way in.
Palmerbet.com, they've actually got a lot of faith in the West Tigers in this game. They've got the West Tigers in the head-to-head at $4, whereas the Cronulla Sharks are at $1.25. The Cronulla Sharks have a 12.5 point handicap that they need to overcome. They're at $1.90. Whereas with the 12.5 point head start, the West Tigers are also at $1.90. I would take the 12.5 point handicap on the Sharks. I think the Sharks are going to whip them.
I would expect the Sharks to run through them a fair bit. James Roberts is defending against Talakai.
That'll work out fine, I'm sure. I mean, if there's one thing James Roberts is good at, it's defense, and it's physical defense against a big opponent.
Fucking hell. This Sharks team, they've lost their winger, but they've brought in Lockie Miller. He made his debut against the Raiders early this year and scored this great try when the Raiders put up some weird bomb thing. He let it bounce, caught it, and then just ran through everybody and raced about 70 metres to score. He's going to be on the wing in his second game. Cade Dykes was pretty solid in his debut last week.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
He's going to be a lot better for getting all that out of the system. You're a bit more calm and relaxed this time around. Finnegan's back in for the Sharks as well. Then you look at they've got a big bench, the Sharks. So you can see their plan is to just completely run through the middle of the Tigers for 80 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Wilton, McInnes is the smallest one there. Tolman and Fafita. They're just going to run through the middle as much as they can, as frequently as possible. That's their plan. That's pretty clear. The Tigers, look, I'll be honest, their defence has been much better. They've finally figured out what Maguire had been telling them for the last few years. It's finally sunk in after he's left.
That whole try thing actually really works eventually.
Yeah.
Like, put in a little bit of effort.
Working with one another. It's really good. It works. A bit of scramble. So they've been good at keeping teams to lower scores and which has been in turn helping them stay in games.
Mm-hmm.
But their attack last week, let's be. I don't want to swear, okay, but let's be honest. It was fucking dog shit.
Yes, it was.
What was going on?
To struggle against the Knights.
Everyone's there shitting on Luke Brooks all the time. He wasn't there. He's not your scapegoat. What the fuck was that shit?
Yeah.
That was atrocious to watch. Oh, man. So, I'm going the Sharks here. I think they'll cover the handicap there.
Mm-hmm.
Just. Because I think they will struggle against the Tigers' defence a little bit for points, but I don't think they're going to struggle to get in front of this game and stay in front of it.
Yeah, look, I think the only positive out of this game that the West Tigers will find is that they get to leave as soon as it's over and get the hell out of Tamworth.
They'll probably stay. If you're in a situation where your employer says, right, we're going to Tamworth this week, and then when you finish playing the game at Tamworth, you didn't have to come back and listen to Pascoe talk for a while. You go, I might hang around that guitar for a bit.
By the way, another home game, another home stadium for the West Tigers. Just another one.
It's our jungle.
I can't believe that the New South Wales government doesn't want to put more money into one of the half a dozen stadiums the West Tigers have used this year.
There was that song a few years back about, that's in Queensland.
Yep.
New South Wales, that's in Campbelltown.
Yeah. Look, the only thing that's not in Campbelltown is the West Tigers. So.
The Tigers' last home game victory over the Sharks was in round 26, 2014.
Oh, wow. Holy crap. Wow, that was even pre...
That was when the Sharks still had no premierships.
Yeah. Now they've got an asterisk. By the way, when they went on that run in their premiership winning season, and then they started losing games, all I could think of was maybe they were just cycling off.
Who knows?
At least they weren't also over the salary cap that year. Oh, hang on.
Well,
they were. Hang on.
The book. Everything was spick and span.
It was actually
the last game on Saturday is the Broncos versus the Knights.
Okay, Broncos versus Knights. Let's get it. So the Broncos are heavy favourites for this one on Palmerbet.com. They're at $1.15, whereas the Newcastle Knights are at $5.50. The Newcastle Knights have a 17.5 point head start at $1.90, whereas with the 17.5 point handicap, the Brisbane Broncos are also at $1.90. That's a very big start.
Okay. I've got one stat for you here, which does not tell you anything, but it's amusing for me.
I like stats like that.
Knights have had just one win when placed 13th away from Newcastle, and that was in round 20, 1991.
So they're looking to make some history here.
Or they're fucked. But alternatively, they've won 7 of their last 10 games in Queensland.
Oh, that's interesting, that one.
They don't mind the journey up there.
They feel comfortable up in hillbilly territory, huh?
Yeah, well, it feels like home, I guess.
Yeah.
Look, I think the Broncos have been a bit sloppy the last maybe almost month.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're told, and it's drummed into them pretty heavily, this is your opportunity to sort your shit out and make sure you've got your heads in the right spot, and we start playing good structured footy from here on in, both in attack and defence. And it may not click in this game, but I think we'll start seeing the Broncos play a much more disciplined and tighter style in this match, just as they start to prepare for the run to the finals. I'd expect them to win this game, though.
Yeah, I'd be more impressed if they just put in, like, if they kept it, say, the Knights to nil. You know, if they won 20-0, I'd be more impressed by that than if they won, like, 42 points to 16.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what they need. Interesting side note, it was revealed last night that former pretend Welsh player Lee Breeze, who is an assistant coach at Wigan, he will be moving to Brisbane next year to put out all of the cones and stuff on the field for Kevin Walters next year. He'll be part of the Brisbane Broncos coaching staff, which of course means that he'll be the next great English coach. That's because that's how the narrative.
What do you mean pretend Welsh? St Helens is in Wales.
Well, look, he played for Warrington, so you can just guess how many titles he won. And one of those Welshmen that was born in England.
Not a real Welshman like Tyson Frizzell.
Yeah, exactly. Good old Tyson.
He was born in that newer version of Wales.
It's like, Yeston Harris is, Yeston Harris is Welsh. It's like he was born in Oldham. What are you talking about? I think it was Oldham for Yeston.
That's in Wales.
Yeah, exactly.
That's in Wales.
Not that we want to start shitting on Wales, because it's very easy to do. But, it's a little bit of news overnight.
Yeah, there's that there. The Dragons the Knights have got Mitch Barnett out of the side as well, and I know I speak about him a fair bit because I'm a huge fan of his. I like the work he does. He's one of those blokes who just does the hard work in the back row, which every team should have. Yeah. And I don't think he's appreciated as much as he should be by the Knights club. The fans love him. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be a big loss there because it means Tyson Frizzell's going to have to pull his fucking finger out.
I saw a journo, might have been Brent Reed, who said that a move that would make sense for both clubs is Tyson Frizzell going to the West Tigers for Luke Brooks.
No. How does that make anyone any better?
I do not know.
That's like saying, instead of shitting in the second last cubicle, go to the third last one. It's still shit in a fucking toilet.
Yeah, like
You're not improving anything.
No, all I could think of.
Changing anything.
You've now got two players in Ponga and Brooks who take up $2 million of your salary cap space. Number one, Tyson Frizzell goes to the West Tigers forwards, which are already looking like Dad's army. And I didn't understand that at all.
The only way that works is if it's not Frizzell, it's David Clemmer that goes to the Tigers, and Luke Brooks goes to the Knights, only if the Knights then get themselves a coach who understands how halves are supposed to function and how they run the play, because this bloke doesn't understand that yet.
Yeah, I agree. And look, if Jake Clifford, who was actually playing really well for the Knights, and then I remember they started moving him around, and funnily enough, his form started dipping, and then it was his problem, not the coach's problem. That's and right. He's out. He's got a broken arm. He broke his arm last week. But yeah, Jake Clifford, if they make any move for Brooks, he needs to get out of there and go wherever, because he's going to be a valuable player at whatever club. He's a really good halfback, you know. But yeah, I didn't understand that suggestion at all.
Well, you know, so many people were saying that Dylan Edwards is pretty much a lock for the Dally M this year. I was like, keep reading. Look, Broncos here. I hope for the Broncos' sake, they win this game 20-0 or something similar to that. But I do see them winning this one comfortably. That's if they can handle Adam Clune at half. Let's move on. Raiders versus Dragons.
Yes. The Canberra Raiders, who knows how they're going to react? Ricky Stewart got a one-match ban and a was it $20,000 or $30,000 fine?
I don't know, mate. I was skipping through the channels last night and I got to NRL 360 just started. I thought, you know what? I just want to listen to how Paul Kent will try and cover his backside without apologising to MG. And he didn't disappoint.
Really? Wow.
And then I also wanted to see how they would talk about Ricky Stewart. And they're all pretty much of the opinion. The Dave Riccio keeps saying, it's a whole week. These people don't understand that for a coach, game day is the most important day. I'm going, because you've been an NRL coach before, have you, Dave?
Yeah. Look,
how many games has he been involved in at any level in rugby league? Like, he's barely watched one. Yeah,
that guy's an idiot. I like to call him Fredo. He's Fredo. Remember Fredo out of The Godfather? He was the dumb one. Yeah,
he's a fucking pot plant, mate. I'll take the word of potato over this bloke. Exactly. At least Potato's accidentally seen a few games.
Exactly. So
clown.
Palmerbet.com head-to-head in this game. We tend to get distracted on this podcast.
Oh, hey? I know. It's bloody. They do it to me all the time.
I would 100% eat a cat. Okay, so Palmerbet.com has the head-to-head. The Canberra Raiders are favourites at $1.50, while the St George Illawarra Dragons are at $2.60. The Dragons have a 5.5-point head start at $1.90, while with the 5.5-point handicap, the Canberra Raiders are also at $1.90. I am honestly confused by this game. My head says that the Raiders probably should win it, but my heart is saying that the Raiders were completely decimated last week by the Panthers, probably emotionally, because that was the end of their hopes and dreams of being anything like the Panthers. And with Ricky Stewart's whole thing going on around them, and both of these teams need to win this game. They really need to win this game. Yeah. It is in Canberra, so that's going to help them because the Dragons are going to have to drive down there to that frozen, god-awful place.
It's frozen Tamworth.
It's frozen Tamworth. You know what the difference is? Tamworth's big attraction is made out of fiberglass, and in Canberra they tend to use concrete.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's it. Oh, the only other thing that I can think of is there's a few more food choices in Canberra, whereas in Tamworth it's like you can either get steak or McDonald's.
Canberra's also got porn and fireworks.
Yeah, the porn. I got to say, the pornography in Canberra. Chef's kiss.
Now look, I've got a stat here that might sway you.
Okay, hit me with it.
Okay. The Raiders' record against St George Illawarra prior to Ricky Stewart being coach, Canberra had 16 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses.
Mm-hmm.
16 wins from 23 games.
Mm-hmm.
Canberra's record against St George Illawarra since Stewart's been coach, 5 wins from 12 games.
Oh wow, that's pretty rough. Wow.
They are great against the Dragons when Stewart's got nothing to do with them. I'm going Raiders here by 20.
Who was the coach that? I feel like it was earlier this year it might have been last year where there was a coach had a week off and the club was better for them having nothing to do with them. I wish I could remember who it was. Anyway.
Warriors?
I just can't remember.
It might have been the Bulldogs. Trent Barrett took a week off.
Okay, I can't remember. I think it was the Bulldogs, actually. It might have been the Bulldogs because it was one of those clubs that sucked. And then the coach, for whatever reason, he did this thing. You know how some of these coaches think they're high-minded, you know? And so he said he took a step back that week and the team won. So yeah. Anyway, I think I will probably go with the home team, just because I don't know who to choose in this one.
Moses and Byes at fullback.
I'm going for the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, what more do you need? The only stat I could find that might sway the other way is that Aaron Woods has never lost the game for the Dragons against the Raiders. He's 1 from 1.
Ooh.
That's how hard I've had to work to try and help the Dragons out. I'm sorry, guys. The best I could do.
Oh, man. All right, so on to the last game of the round.
Yeah, we've got Titans versus Manly.
So the Gold Coast Titans are outsiders on Palmerbet at $2.75, while the Manly Warringah Seagulls are at $1.45. The Manly Warringah Seagulls are fighting against a 6.5 point handicap. They're at $1.90, while with the 6.5 point head start, the Gold Coast Titans are also at $1.90. I'll be going for Manly. They have to win this game.
No, I see Manly putting 50 on here, and they're going to fix up a lot of their dramas they've had in attack. Not because they've been showing signs of it, but because they need to, and because the Titans, essentially, they spent all of winter planning their spring holidays, and last week they decided, fuck it, let's go now.
Yeah,
they've flopped out. They're not even turning up anymore, except for Tino.
Oh, how good is Tino playing?
The guy's a weapon.
It's unbelievable. I'm watching this. I've watched their games just to watch him. Sometimes Jaden Campbell as well. I'm always surprised at how a dude so lean can be so strong. Yeah, in Jaden Campbell. It's kind of weird, but
very powerful through the legs. He's very good.
Yeah, but, when he fills out, he's going to be hard to stop.
It's hard to watch the Titans play because there's nothing there at all. What the Titans are doing right now is what the Tigers would have looked like last year if Maguire wasn't there trying to at least keep them together structurally.
Yeah.
They are just a mess. Their attack is clueless, and their defense is not even bothering.
The outrageous thing for me is that you go through their lineup and they've got players that you're like, well, he's good. He's played Origin, so they shouldn't be anything like this. And that's where it's damning on the coach.
Yeah, it really is. What stats we got here? The Titans, this is a good one. This one took me a while to go and find.
Okay.
Titans have won 8 of 31 games when sitting last on the ladder. And this will be the first time Manly has played a last place side that isn't the Bulldogs since round 7, 2018.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting one.
Another one I brought up, which I researched even further on, was the Gold Coast Titans end of season form. Mm-hmm. So this is going from round of 16 to the end of the regular season, so not including the finals. Mm-hmm. And this is since they came into the comp in 2007. They've had 52 wins, 1 draw, 95 losses for a win percentage of 35%.
Holy crap. So
they just clock off at the end of the year. Yeah. Only 4 times since 2007 have they won at least half of those games from round 16 to the end of the regular season.
Damn. That's kind of weird.
I think the only other team that does a similar thing is the Warriors. Just clocking off at the end of the season.
Yeah, switching off, yeah.
We're done, don't care, move on with our lives. Start planning for next year or some shit. I don't know what it is, but that's pretty dire.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that. Like, you would think that their fitness would all be at their best, their cohesion would be at their best and stuff, and they just get worse. It's strange.
Yeah, I mean, they've made the finals, 4 times in that period?
Yeah, it's not good enough. Although, to be fair, they did have a lot of off-field stuff that the club had to sort out at one point, but now it's just down to poor coaching, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
But yeah, I'm going Manly there big time because they need to. Mm-hmm. And Manly are the sort of team where the stats go the other way. When they're in that position where they've got to fight, they will fight.
Yeah.
More often than not, they'll fight, they'll scrap, they'll get their way back into good form, and they'll hit the finals in something almost worrying form for other teams.
Now, a tiny little bit of Manly Seagulls news. Not Jake Trebojevic. Tom Trebojevic was on a podcast recently. I can't remember which podcast it was.
It wasn't ours.
No, it wasn't ours. What a bastard. But but he said it was one of the corporate press ones. But he said that he's not going to be playing again for the rest of the year because I think there was some people were saying, well, if they make the grand final and well, he might be in for the World Cup, and I tended to think that was never going to be the case. He's just too important to Manly. They pay him too much money, and
even if you get someone who's at the absolute best player in the world and is for a long period of time. Okay, I'm not talking about Tom here, but just you take the absolute best player in the world, and if they stay there for 5 or 6 years, but they get injured, and they are able to miss 90% of the season, but they're available for the grand final, I still don't play them. I want to have at least one game under their belt. Put them on the bench if you want to, and they can sit there and offer some advice and whatnot there and maybe bring them in that way. I'm not bringing them in because they weren't involved in that successful run that got them to the grand final anyway. Furthermore, I certainly wouldn't be picking them for a test side.
Yeah, I can't imagine he'll be in the test side. The other thing, too, in that regard is you would want them to have been training for like a month and a half, and it be like, well, look, he's done all he's doing everything except play. Let's chuck him in then. That's the only way I would want someone coming in at the like, for instance, with and it's a very different situation, but when Nathan Cleary comes back in for the first round of the finals, he will have not missed a single week of training, and he's doing everything except for playing the games. So he's just going to fit straight in.
Coming back from suspension is different from coming back from injury too.
Exactly.
Injury, your fitness will have dropped off because you've not been able to train.
Yeah,
you certainly haven't had any game time.
You can't just turn up and be like, look, I can probably play this week. Throw me in. It's just it's too much of a risk.
Especially if there's that first game back. I mean, you're probably at your highest chance of re-injury in that first game back.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make your first game back a rather important match. Pretty stupid. So I wouldn't have wanted him back anyway, for his sake more than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a little bit of signings news I've seen here.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans have landed Sam Verrills for next year.
Yeah. Look, I saw that. I wouldn't sign I've said it. I wouldn't sign a hooker that's got injury problems at all, and he's more injured more often than not. He's injured.
The thing is, they haven't got a NRL quality hooker at this stage. They're using makeshift hookers or juniors. They need something.
Yeah,
and they don't have anything.
The crazy one is that here's something to blow your mind. Next season, Josh Hodgson is the hooker for the Parramatta Eels.
Yeah, Parramatta's recruitment for next year is, let's say now, we'll go with questionable.
Yeah.
I don't see much of what they've done has been an enhancement to the side.
No.
Like the player that they've lost and what they've replaced them with, I look at it and go, wait, what are you doing? You've decided 2022 is the window. If we don't make it, fuck it. Let's do a rebuild. Hang on, you're still in the 8.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. That look, if Josh Hodgson never played a game for them, I would not be shocked at all.
Oh, you'll play.
They need to. They need
to.
Who else could they play at hooker? Who? It feels like they would have their hooker next year would be like someone like Will Smith.
No, it'll be they might try and move Jake Arthur there.
I think he'd be a really good hooker, hey?
Better option than Hodgson.
Yeah. Who'd be a good hooker for them if they could get him?
David Nofaluma.
How dare you? I see what he's trying to do there. Isn't David Nofaluma going to come back as the greatest winger of all time, having learnt from the Melbourne Storm?
He's already done that. He needs to go to Parramatta and be a hooker.
Okay.
Yeah. While we're at it.
Yeah, isn't it? Sorry, go on.
No, that was kind of the joke, I guess. While we're at it, they've got a long list of Tigers players that can get over there.
Well, I was just thinking, like, it's weird seeing the Tigers, some of the Tigers fans, not all of them, but just a few of them, who are just dying on the hill of, no, it really is best for all our players to not be playing for us at the end of this year. They're going to come back amazing, and we're going to have all this salary cap space, and we can sign all these great players that we've already got, and it's like...
I laugh when I hear them talking about, it's going to help our cap space, and going, it doesn't change our cap space. They need to look at it this way, okay? You've got two wallets, right? You're holding two wallets, and you put $100 in one wallet, and the other one's got $0 in it. You still have $100. What the Tigers have done is they've taken $50 out of one wallet, put in the other one. They still have $100. Nothing's changed. The only thing that's changed, and I know I went through this last episode, but maybe they need to hear it again. The money that they would be paying Nofaluma for the rest of this year, they don't have to pay. That's the only cap space they've freed up. The last 5 rounds of this year. That's it.
Yeah.
Which means if they want to bring through some guys from lower grades and pay them match payments, they can now afford to do that, which is why we had Tom Fairbairn playing last week. We can afford to give him a match payment. We're going to see a few rookies come through. That's the only cap space freed up, and that's the only thing you can do with it. Nothing else.
No, look, Andrew, I don't think you understand. Okay, first of all of their players are going to come back being superstars, number one. And second of all, they're going to have all of these junior players that they upgraded to massive contracts now, which means that those players are automatically going to be better for reasons.
For reasons, yeah.
Yeah.
Profit. What about profit?
It's free real estate.
It is.
All right, we should wrap up our expert tipping podcast because we're the experts.
That's us,
here.
experts. Yeah. Thank you to Palmerbet for providing all of the odds there and for sponsoring our podcast this year. It's been absolutely fantastic. And always make sure you gamble responsibly. And what else have we got to say in there?
The only other thing I've got to say is that I'm being stalked by a French bulldog.
Oh, right.
Like properly stalked. Like it's about to, like, I don't know what's going to happen when I get off of this podcast, but I feel like she's about to unleash the violence or something.
Probably death. But it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
She could just maul me. That's fine.
It's fine. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Who doesn't like sitting in the hospital with, dog bite injuries?
Yeah, it'd be great fun.
Yeah.
You'll be right. It'll be all done in a loving manner.
Walk it off.
You'll have to if you've got a Tigers trainer around.
Yeah. Oh, man, don't start me. Let's start talking about the West Tigers for an hour.
We've got all next year doing that. Sorry, peeps.
Look, it's a new era with Tim Sheens.
Yeah. When does the new era start? When does the old era end? That's more important. I want the old one to end first.
At least the books are balanced.
Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you all next time.
Palmerbet with the big don't argue. Punters will love that. Download our app today and enjoy tackle-busting benefits with great odds, more markets, and same-game multi every NRL match at Palmerbet. Gamble responsibly. For Gamblers' Help, call 1-800-858-858.